Welcome to the 5-minute lessons on the power of visuals, and today we will be focusing on color usage. Here is a quick overview of today's video where we will be covering 5 different color usage principles listed below. So the first use of color is for differentiation purposes, and this means that you use color to identify or distinguish certain elements or aspects of a visualization. These two pie graphs are a good example. The one on the right-hand side has colored slices, making it easier to differentiate among monthly sales. Alright, so the next use of color is to highlight different elements of a visual, which takes advantage of pre-attentive processing. Pre-attentive processing means that in a visual, items that are a different size, shape, or color will stand out because the human eye is drawn to these different items without doing much searching. So on the right-hand side, the two colored slices in the pie graph immediately stand out. Color can also be used for grouping purposes, and this is based on the Gestalt principle of similarity. And this principle states that humans perceive that similar visual items, and items that are similar in color, shape, and size, as belonging to the same group. So on the left-hand side, our eyes perceive the similar color boxes as columns, where on the right-hand side, our eyes perceive them as rows. This is just one Gestalt principle. If you are interested in learning about the other principles, please watch our 5-minute lesson that specifically covers the Gestalt principles. So here is an example of using color for grouping purposes. On the left-hand side, we have a column graph that has a legend on the side that shows that sales is blue and profit is orange. But on the right-hand side, we incorporated that legend right into the graph's title on the top. Therefore, it's easier to see which color represents what, and it just makes the graph overall cleaner as well. Now, this is another similar example of using color to group. On the left-hand side, we have a line chart, and the line labels are in a kind of dark gray font color. But on the right-hand side, those font colors are changed to match the corresponding line color, and this makes it easier for the brain to match up which line label corresponds to which line. If you're interested in learning how to make the chart on the right-hand side, please watch the 5-minute Excel lesson 4, which focuses on the line chart. This example demonstrates how to use color to group by time. So on the right-hand side, the pie graph contains 4 different colors, and each color represents a different quarter of the year, and it's easy to see that the green quarter was their best performing quarter. Similarly, this next example demonstrates how to use color to group by location. On the left-hand side, each segment in the column graph corresponds to a different color, which corresponds to a different city. Where on the right-hand side, we grouped Salt Lake City and Denver together using the same orange color since they both represent mountain areas. And this last grouping example uses color to group by data pattern. So on the left-hand side, using this line graph again, it's difficult to see right away that laptops and smartphones had increased sales, where desktops and TVs had decreased sales. So on the right-hand side, we identified the categories with increased sales using blue lines and blue line labels. And then the items that had decreased sales have the orange lines and the orange line labels. So moving on, another reason to use color in visualizations is for accessibility, making visuals easier to understand. Now, some people have color vision deficiency, which is also known as color blindness, meaning they have a hard time differentiating green from red. So this means you should avoid using green and red contrasting in visualizations. Instead, it is best to use blue and orange. Being that, let's do a quick experiment using a color perception test. This is also known as the Ishihara test, which looks for detecting red and green color deficiencies. It was named after its designer, who was a professor at the University of Tokyo and was published in 1917. Can you identify the numbers in each circle? Each circle represents one of 4 Ishihara test color plates. And here are the answers to the previous slide. Now, some of you may have had trouble identifying the numbers within each circle, which may represent a potential red and green color deficiency. Now, this is why it's important to avoid using red and green as contrasting colors in visualizations. Instead, we should follow the example on the right-hand side, which uses blue and orange as contrasting colors. Now, overall, when you're choosing to use color, you must be aware of the meaning associated with certain colors. In business, you really want to use a warm color like red or orange to represent loss or negative numbers. And in this bar graph example, the red bars represent categories that had negative profit. And the last usage of color is for aesthetic purposes, and this means making your graphs beautiful. Beautiful graphs attract people's attention, and people are willing to spend more time processing beautiful visuals and graphs. That concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in to our Gestalt Principles video for more visual design principles.